And a good Tuesday midday to you, Roger Hill of Wuthering Heights, VELCO Weather Hazards Forecaster. Here's the large picture, looking at a big trough of lower pressure that is influencing the track and eventual landfall in central Florida of Hurricane Ian, a Category 4. It will spin up to a Cat 4 and probably downgrade to a Cat 3, possibly a 2, before it makes landfall. Other systems coming in off of West Africa includes this easterly system here. It's not really forecast to spin up anything. We have another one coming in off the West African coast there, and this particular system forecast to become a tropical depression. Right now, invest AL99 and then head northbound. And that is kind of the way these systems do this in the later season once we get past the peak of hurricane season, which is technically the 10th of September. Again, a little more of a focus here on what we're looking at in terms of Ian. Ian has crossed the western tip of Cuba earlier this morning. We have a recon mission currently flying through it right now to narrow this track. And it's a pretty serious situation for Central Florida, no doubt about that. Now, it is forecast to cross the peninsula and weaken as it's going to ingest a lot of drier air. That drier air is something I can show you here as well. And water vapor. And you can see a lot of high-level moisture blowing off from Ian and cirriform clouds, but this water vapor does show where the much more humidity is located. And you can see the dry air here. And what's going to end up happening once Ian gets a little bit further north off the coast of Florida, we're going to see a lot of that drier air become entrained and circulate into the system and then weaken it roughly about the time it makes landfall, maybe just a little bit before that. And that could be a saving grace potentially. Back to our neck of the woods, we can see this trough of lower pressure and a surface low that's pushing in more clouds. It's spinning that counterclockwise circulation, kind of working in. And we see half of Vermont currently covered in some cloud cover, and with that, a few light showers. Nothing major over the next couple of days. Today, tonight, and tomorrow will feature a little bit of shower activity. Not anticipating any thunderstorms, so this utility outlook has some pretty good conditions ahead without any kind of impacts, even going probably beyond this weekend into the early to mid part of next week, as conditions are such that this area of higher pressure to the other side of this trough is going to start to build in, and it's going to basically set up residence in a kind of elongated pattern and sink slowly into northern New England. That is a very favorable position for several days of dry project weather. This is currently at 18Z or 2 o'clock this afternoon on this Tuesday, and we can see a little bit of sporadic rain showers trying to make it in. This is the GFS ensemble on the right-hand side, and on the left-hand side we have the European. Of course, this is a Hurricane Category 3 Ian, about to power up to a 4. And running the model, every 3-hour clip here will give you, you can see the GFS ensemble. So 1, 2, 3. There is Ian working about level with the south tip of Florida. This is valid at 2 o'clock in the morning tonight, early Wednesday morning. And you can still see a little bit of precipitation into Wednesday. We're talking about minutia, really not a lot. But note this area of higher pressure is going to start to build into the region. 18Z, this will be 2 o'clock on Thursday. We have high pressure building in. That's going to give us some pretty fine weather with dry conditions on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It looks like Monday and Tuesday beyond the work week, or beyond the weekend. And just kind of running that Friday, Saturday. You see this area of higher pressure comes along to reinforce it. That's going to put the block 1035 HPA. That's looking pretty good. The leftovers of Ian is kind of circulating around in the vicinity of the either middle Atlantic coast or southeast U.S. The Carolinas kind of westward. And you can see that it kind of gets separated. Some of the moisture spreads off to the east. And this is the last remnant right here. And it never makes it here thanks to that blocking area of higher pressure. This is well beyond the period. We're looking at basically Wednesday night, the 5th of October. 3-hourly QPF for the GFS ensemble centered on Montpelier, Vermont. You can see the A little bit of dicey precip, very small amounts here, and then a nice stretch of drier weather before a little bit more noise in the machine for the next weather systems down the road. If you look at the total QPF, it looks like this. We're not talking about very much, are we? Between 1 and 2/10 of an inch over the next probably 7 days. No gradient wind issues under 30 knots here, and you can see winds calm down as an area of higher pressure builds into the region. And you can see that with sea level pressure here. Big broad area of higher pressure in control. Much of the northeast United States, including our neck of the woods, and then westbound is associated with more westerly temperate zone precipitation types and whatnot, even including a little bit of snow in the Rockies. But this is all associated with the tropics, associated with Ian. You can see the heaviest rainfalls are basically across central Florida, and then from there it spreads out greater than 5-inch amounts all the way up to southern New Jersey. Looking at the climate reanalyzer, here's our current temperature anomalies. We are colder than normal, and that spreads in basically from the upper Midwest, the Great Lakes, and it stretches down into the southern U.S., and that's where that dry slot is, as a matter of fact. And this shows up pretty well on the precipitable water. This is all very dry conditions across the lower 48 United States, except right along the Gulf Coast and, of course, Florida. Next 5 days of high temperatures with the weighted MOS shows near neutral conditions or about normal. And about 3 days later, it looks like this. Again, near normal, cool down, rain-cooled air from the heavy rains and flooding rains, as a matter of fact, from Ian. 5-day graphical from the National Hurricane Center Tropical Weather Outlook. This is the only system here to watch. And, of course, we have Ian in progress. That's it from here. Wuthering Heights, thanks for watching.